Hey, I'm Darknoth, hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'll be talking about best team comps for Hu Tao. I made a similar video around the time Hu Tao was first released, but there have been newer characters released and new discoveries have been made, so this is an updated team comp recommendation as of 2.2 of Genshin. I'll be going over Hu Tao plus Xingqiu charge attack vaporized teams, as that is her highest damage team for most players outside of C6 R5 one-shot builds with no crit rate. So let's start with Hu Tao double Geo Team. Geo Resonance gives shield strength and decreases enemy Geo resistance if they're hit by a Geo attack, but also more importantly gives characters protected by a shield 15% more damage. Geo also gives you shields, whether that's using a Geo character with a shield or crystallized shields. Both are good for Hu Tao, who doesn't want healing and instead wants shields. The two best candidates for double Geo with Hu Tao are Albedo and Zhongli. Albedo gives EM, which is great for Vape as his passive, and he does a lot of off-field damage. His E procs scale with defense only, and he's very cheap to build with Harbinger of Dawn. Zhongli shreds resistance, gives a shield, and drops a meatball for damage and petrification. If you only have one of these two, the other one can be replaced by Geo main character, who also gives crit rate within the range of his ultimate, which is really nice. The other Geo characters are not as synergistic with Hu Tao and would be there just as sub DPS and for Geo resonance, so only use them if you have them built and they actually carry their weight in the team. So let's move on to the next team, which is Hu Tao, Xingqiu plus a Anemo and a Pyro. The reason why this is good is it lets you shred Pyro resistance with Viridescent very easily, as without a second Pyro, if you apply Pyro first with Hu Tao and then Swirl, she will immediately go on cooldown and won't be able to take advantage of the Anemo res shred. You might be able to get Pyro Swirl on second rotation, but that would not be super consistent as Xingqiu applies a lot of Hydro Aura, so you're more likely to just swirl Hydro. This is solved with a second Pyro. So let's talk about some Pyro candidates for this role. Thoma is a shielder and does off-field damage and gives Pyro Resonance, and his C6 gives an increase to normal and charge attack damage. Xiangling is a powerful sub-DPS, her constellations also improve pyro damage of the team, and is in general a very strong sub-DPS. Bennett can also be used, but he will push you over 50% HP, so first test it out yourself if your Bennett attack buff pushes your damage higher, even above 50% HP. If yes, then use him, otherwise don't. For Anemo characters, you can use Kazuha, who gives elemental damage bonus and EM at C2, Sucrose, who gives an EM buff and elemental damage bonus at C6, Venti for hard crowd control and refunding swirled element energy, and Jean and Sayu are healers, which is anti-synergy with Hu Tao, so only use them if you really have no other option. Next is the Hu Tao Vape-Melt Team. Even though you can't consistently melt with Hu Tao, you can still get some melts here and there. As she is a spear user, she doesn't shatter when hitting frozen enemies, allowing her to Vape Melt. The melts here and there are a significant damage increase. The Vape-Melt team consists of Hu Tao plus Xingqiu, plus a cryo character and a flex, which can be another cryo character or a shielder. The cryo characters that you can use for this role are Kaya, Rosaria, and Ganyu, who are at the time of making this video the only off-field cryo sub-DPS characters. Kaya works really well with her, as Hu Tao moves around a lot due to charge attacks and his ult stays on her, and you can also build him super cheap by slapping a 4-piece instructor, so he further buffs Hu Tao's EM, increasing her Vape Melt damage. Rosaria also works, and on top also is a crit feeder, which is great and has great off-field cryo damage, except the fact that her ult stays in one place. Ganyu support also works. Her burst has no downtime and has massive AoE, and it works. That's all I'm gonna say. Moving on. Fourth slot can be a shielder or another cryo for cryo resonance for more crit rate and more chances to melt. Whether that's Diona, who gives both a shield and cryo resonance at the same time, or just two of the three off-field cryo characters I mentioned just a minute ago. If you are using Diona, don't use her burst unless you really need the healing or for iframes, as it will push Hu Tao over 50% HP. The other shielders that would work would be Zhongli and Thoma. And at last we have Hu Tao plus Xingqiu plus slap another sub-DPS in for increased team damage team, potentially even adding more AoE to the team. In this team, do make sure that whatever sub-DPS that you decide to use actually do invest in them, so they do actually carry their own weight. The last slot here can be a shielder or a cryo character for more melts, or a Anemo character for crowd control and Viridescent shred. The best candidates for this sub-DPS slot are Xiangling, who is very strong and will greatly increase your team damage, and if you have her built, her Vape Burst also hits pretty hard, her constellations will increase power damage of the team, which in turn will increase Hu Tao damage. If you add an Anemo in the 4th slot, it will also let you easily shred pyro resistance, and she also gives you pyro resonance. Beidou is also an amazing electro sub-DPS and will also allow electrocharge and overload in the team. Her burst has very high scaling, especially with C2 and C6. Fischl is also an amazing sub-DPS and will also allow electrocharge and overload on the team, and also generates a shitload of energy and also does a lot of damage. Problem with both of these is light enemies equals overload, but the hardest floors in the last few abyss rotations are enemies with large HP pools who are very chunky, so you're not gonna have any problem right now, but that might change in the future. That's it with this video. If you found this helpful, consider leaving a like. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below. We're close to 500 subs, so I would really appreciate it if you would consider subbing to the channel. And to anyone who's watching this who is pulling for Hu Tao, I do wish you good luck and hope you get her early and win the 50-50. Thanks for watching, have a good one.